Are your orchids battling? They're dehydrating, they're just not looking as fresh and healthy as they should. They're just looking a bit sad, and you really want to give them the vigor that they once had. Perhaps they don't have enough root volume, or they're just struggling to survive, and we want to get them back into full health. Is there a product we can use to get this back to look like these? Well, perhaps there is just one. There's one that has all the auxins, the cytokinins, the gibberellins to give your plant the health boost or the growth spurt that it needs to carry on growing well. Push out those new roots, get that new top growth going, and really bring it back to health. And what is this? This is seaweed extract. We've all known and heard about this and wondered how good it is actually for our orchid. Well, seaweed extract, as I said, has all those amazing rooting hormones and hormones to help produce top growth. And these will help initiate new root growth in your plant and help invigorate or start new lateral shoot growth or reinvigorate the growth of your leaves. They'll be helping in that cell division and that cell elongation to give you bigger, stronger plants. So what else is amazing about seaweed extract is the fact that it has a large amount of micronutrients in it. All those nutrients that the plant only needs in small amounts, but is often quite difficult to get in other products. They'll often contain a long list of these micronutrients from iron, zinc, molybdenum, manganese, copper, nickel, iodine, silicon, cobalt, boron, and if I've renamed a couple of them over and over again, iodine, then that just shows you how many there are actually in a lot of these seaweed extract products. And when we're talking about nutrients, you're asking me about what about those macronutrients, that nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium. We'll get to that in a second. This does have a lot of those micronutrients the plant needs to grow and be healthy. And along with those micronutrients, they also have amino acids. These amino acids are going to help with the general resilience and resistance of the plant. So that's always a good additive to have when growing your orchids. Seaweed extract also often contains allergenic acid and mannitol. And you ask, yeah, so what? Well, actually, this helps in the absorption of other nutrients into plants. So it's going to help the orchids absorb all those nutrients that you're giving it, either through your seaweed extract or through other fertilizers. So it's going to make more of those nutrients available to the plant and allow the plant to use them. What do we need to know about using seaweed extract? Always remember to stick to manufacturers' recommendations. If they don't have specific recommendations for orchids, then generally try and either half or quarter the dose to just ensure that you're not overfeeding your orchids. Orchids don't have the same nutrient requirements as what, say, houseplants or garden plants may have. Also, another amazing, wonderful thing about using seaweed extract, it is a completely natural product. It's a sustainable product which is going to help give us the little green tick that we always want in helping to save the environment. Also, it's not going to be detrimental to your pets or any other animals. So seaweed extract is always a good organic go-to product. But I can hear you already saying, why are you avoiding telling me about the NPK? Because there is one problem when it comes to seaweed extract that you have to really be very aware of. It is very low in your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So invariably they'll say about 0.6% nitrogen and about 0.5% phosphorus and maybe about 0.1% potassium. And you think, okay, that sounds reasonable for a plant. When you work that down into your dilution and you work out your parts per million, you'll be getting 0.3 parts per million of nitrogen, 0.25 parts per million of phosphorus, and about 0.5 parts per million of potassium. So there we can see those percentage or those parts per million are extremely low. For instance, generally for an orchid, you want to look at around possibly 100 parts per million of nitrogen when feeding. So You're only getting 0.3. Can I then increase the concentration of my seaweed extract to boost that nitrogen level up to those at least 100 parts per million that I'm looking for? No, you can't. There's specific reasons why you can't do that, because it can be very damaging to your orchid. Remember, this has all those plant hormones, all those auxins, the cytokinins, the gibberellins in it. And if you start putting them in too high a concentration onto your orchids, you're going to upset the hormone balance in the plant itself. This can lead to deformed growth. It can even lead to complications in the metabolism inside your plant itself, which can slowly cause the demise of the whole plant. Be aware that overuse of something like seaweed extract can be detrimental to your plants. Also remember, if the pH of your solution hasn't been buffered, it generally has a pH of around 8 to 10, and even in these low concentrations or low amounts that we're using in our liter of water, for instance, we're using between 1 and 5 mils depending on the product in a liter of water. So that's 1 mil is approximately 15 or so drops. Even if you're using such small quantities in a liter of water, it can mildly change the pH of the water that you're using, especially if you're using soft water, you're using tap water. If you're using rainwater or reverse osmosis water, that's probably a little bit acidic anyway, then perhaps this can just tone it up to the right sort of acidity that you want for your orchids. Remember, the best pH for water when feeding your orchids is a pH of 5.5 to 6.5. This is going to be ideal for the absorption of nutrients. So just be aware, check your bottle for any indication of what the pH is, or just test the pH of your water once you've mixed in your solution. And if you're very particular on the pH of the water that you're using when feeding your orchids or watering your orchids, and you've just added a little bit of seaweed extract to it, and it's changed the pH out of the range that you want. If you want it to be slightly more acidic, just add a little bit of citric acid. If you want it to be more alkaline, then you can add potassium bicarbonate. This will just help mediate your pH levels to be ideal for you and the way you care for your orchid. And also remember, when using seaweed extract, it does have sodium in it. So it does have sodium as well as other salts in it. So be sure that you are flushing your orchids regularly, that you are flushing out any of those excess salts that may build up in the media. And now that we know some of the pros and cons of using seaweed extract, what is the best way to use it? Well, remember, there's not enough NPK, those macronutrients, in your seaweed extract. So you are going to have to mix it with your normal feeding regime, your balanced fertilizers or other organic fertilizers that you use that do have nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And also remember to check whether your fertilizers have got micronutrients already involved in them. If they do, just be sure that you're using smaller quantities of your seaweed extract so that we're not giving toxic levels of those micronutrients to our orchid. And the majority of plant foods, whether they're organic or chemical, can easily be mixed with seaweed extract without causing any damage to the products themselves or to your orchids. So most of them will not have a negative chemical reaction with your seaweed to cause problems. In fact, generally the seaweed helps allow your orchids to absorb the nutrients better. Remember those alginic acids I was talking about? It's going to help your orchid absorb more of those nutrients and make more of them available to the plant itself. And to be on the safe side, if you're wanting to mix seaweed extract into your other fertilizers, perhaps do it only every second week if you're fertilizing weekly, or remember to just keep your dosages down. Reduce the dosage to just 1/4 strength of what would be recommended. And the benefits of using seaweed extract is that increased root growth that's going to naturally give you a healthier plant, the increased top growth that's going to help give you a more vibrant, luxurious plant, and that will eventually give you more flowers. You're getting a bigger, stronger root system. You're getting a more vibrant, faster growing top growth, which will then, of course, lead to more beautiful flowers. And that's due to the auxins and cytokinins in your seaweed extract. It's also going to help build up the resistance to pests and diseases, and its resilience to climatic conditions such as droughts and heat and even cold. And it makes sure that those nutrients that you are feeding your plant are able to be absorbed by the plant itself. So less of it's going to waste and more of it is going to be used in producing that beautiful plant that we all want. So just remember, seaweed extract is an additive to your normal feeding regime. It's not a replacement for your feed. There's just not enough of that NPK that your orchids need really to survive well. If you use seaweed extract, tell me, how do you go about using it and how often do you actually use it? It's always good to hear the different results different people get from their different feeding regimes. It helps us all learn from each other. And talking about learning, if you have any other queries, drop them in the comments box below, or check out that Buy Me a Coffee link in the description box. Ed posts up a lot of information on orchids there all the time on a whole variety of different topics. So don't be shy, go down, have a look, and if you're inclined, sign up, become a member, and grow like a pro. And thank you for watching. If you found any of this information helpful, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below, and that notification bell, bing bong, to be notified of all our upcoming content so you don't miss out on a thing. Help us grow as we help your orchids grow.